Yeah, hello. My name is Rasha Abdel Rahman, and I am a psychologist. So, we are now turning from individual intelligence to social intelligence, and the special thing about social intelligence, or you could also say the problem, is that we are dealing with another agent. And as Oliver said, the world can be quite surprising and many things can happen. And in the context of SCIoI, when we talk about social agents, we mean this could be another person, it could also be an animal, it could be a robot, or it could be a neural network. So, social interactions, as we probably all know, are pretty complex, or can be pretty complex, and this is nicely illustrated in this scene that has already been introduced. Thank you. The two dancers, and here you can see these two persons that do many things in parallel. They communicate with each other, they're dancing together, and they're simultaneously processing verbal and non-verbal information from different modalities. So they're talking to each other, they look at each other, they're listening to each other, they're dancing. And at the same time, there's also a lot of relevant information to be processed that is not directly observable, like what we know about our partner and what our experiences are and our expectations. And at last, we need to plan our actions, like she needs to plan her actions and like stepping forward or backward, saying yes or no or whatever. And in addition, we also need to consider the state of mind and the intentions of our partner, and if possible, try to predict what our partner will do next. That doesn't always work perfectly, but it helps a lot. So we consider social intelligence as an orchestration of these many different and diverse mental abilities and their interactions, and this orchestration and interaction allows us to navigate in a pretty complex social world. So our goal at SCIoI is to identify the principles of biological and artificial social intelligence, and we plan to do this by, on the one hand, analyzing the characteristics of biological social intelligence. So I will tell you more about what we have learned about human social intelligence, and by using this information to create artificial social intelligence, which in turn we can use to analyze and to predict and draw conclusions about human or biological intelligence again. Anna will later say more about this. So this is important because as we all know, artificial intelligence is integrated more and more often in our daily life, like in hospitals or in schools. Jonas will later on talk about learning and teaching in schools especially. And we all know that especially embodied social agents are more and more used in society, and we are more and more confronted with them. There are a lot of hopes because they can be really helpful, but there's also worries in the society, and so just how we interact with robots and so on. So, and we think we can, by analyzing the principles of how we deal with robots and the principles of human social intelligence and artificial intelligence, can give some answers to those societal questions. So what have we actually learned? So one thing is that during social perception, we are trying to understand other agents, and we do that in a very typical way. So in this situation here, what would you say? How does she feel? How does her facial expression look like? And you might see here that it's not always very easy to tell. And in such situations, context information helps. So this is a scene from the movie Ich bin dein Mensch, I'm your man. And he has just said to her, your eyes are like 2 mountain lakes I could sink into. And even worse, she knows he's an anthropomorphic robot. And now look at her face again. And you might see she's probably not that happy with the situation. Another example here, you see this little boy and he looks pretty angry, right? But that's actually not really the case. If you get some context information about what's actually going on, you see in his face, basically, that he's rather ecstatic and in a very positive state of mind. So now if you perceive this face in a different way, then congratulations, because that's a sign of social intelligence. Because we define one hallmark of intelligence as the integration of context information, whatever information we actually have during social perception, to understand other minds. And we have not only found this for human faces, but also very similar for robot faces. When we give information, for instance, like kick the neighbor's dog, negative or positive information, then the expressions appear different to us. And so what we think is happening there is that we basically see attentions in robot faces, and that suggests that we attribute mental states to them. So we go pretty deep in a way when we communicate with robots. That happened to me too, actually, with this very same robot with Pepper in our EEG lab at SCIoI, where we prepared a little game, and it was a question and answer game, and I gave very confusing answers to the robot to see how he would respond, and then he looked at me in silence, looked to the left, looked to the right, raised his arms and said, "Oh dear." And then I just couldn't help but smile at him, knowing what I know about Pepper by now. Since I'm at SCIoI. So yeah, we go pretty deep. And now the plan is to better align human and artificial intelligence by integrating context also in artificial neural networks, so that we understand each other better during what you could call social perception. And yeah, this is just a little teaser in case you haven't been there. We have also found ways to visualize how faces are represented in context in the human mind's eye, and we compare this to how faces are represented with the eyes of an artificial neural network that can be seen at the demonstrator. So now I have talked so far about social perception, but another important ingredient of social intelligence is how we communicate and act with each other. And there we have seen that we don't only perceive persons in context or other agents in context, we also co-represent their minds. And what that means is that we are predicting and internally simulating the actions of our social partners. And we have shown that this doesn't only happen with human partners, but also when we have artificial agents as partners, like social robots. We also co-represent robots to some degree, and that helps us to coordinate our actions much better and to act together efficiently. So the second hallmark of social intelligence is that we predict and simulate others' actions. So the next talk will be Jonas, and he will be talking about teaching situations as prime examples of social knowledge transfer.
you.